as much flow as possible, but there's an inordinate number of people that are on the road, knowing that it's going to be probably for most of today slower than normal. Just keep in mind, you do not have to get on the interstate and go far away. The shelters are open in all of these counties now. You can evacuate tens of miles. You do not have to evacuate hundreds of miles. Of course, it's your choice what you want to do, but there are options. And I know there's a lot of folks, particularly a lot of elderly, they may not want to get on the road on these interstates in normal circumstances, but certainly in circumstances where they're really going to be jammed, you do have options. And that is not something, when you hear evacuate, don't think you've got to get on the interstate and outrun the storm. You can find safe places on higher ground, hunker down, and then be able to go back to your home when the storm passes. We also have emergency accommodation modules that are activated through Visit Florida, both Expedia and Priceline. If you want to access these modules, you can go to visitflorida.com/Priceline and then Expedia.com/Florida. We've also worked with the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, and they are working with members to continue to offer reduced prices for hotel rooms on a distress rate for Floridians who are fleeing the storm, as well as waiving or reducing applicable pet fees. We have properties, the Rosen properties, Red Roof Inns, A-Lofts, La Quintas, Motel 6, Best Western, Holiday Inns. They're all on board to be able to do this and help Floridians when they're in need. So we appreciate you doing that. And again, having a storm that, I mean, it's projected to make landfall about 125-mile-an-hour winds, and look, maybe it's stronger than that. But the reality is, if it's in that Cat 3, Cat 4 range, if you are on higher ground, and particularly if you're inland, most of these structures in Florida are going to be able to handle it. You may lose power. There may be other issues. But as long as you're getting away from the storm surge, that's really the most important thing that you need to do. Florida's also partnered with Uber for Hurricane Milton evacuation, so you can get free rides to and from shelters in counties with active evacuation orders. They did this with Hurricane Helene. They're now doing it with Hurricane Milton. And so if you want a free ride to a shelter, you use the promo code Milton Relief, one word, Milton Relief. So thanks for Uber for stepping up and helping Floridians when they're in need. The following counties will close schools beginning Tuesday, October 8th. Brevard, Charlotte, Citrus, Collier, DeSoto, Glades, Hardy, Hendry, Hernando, Highlands, Hillsborough, Indian River, Lake, Lee, Levy, Manatee, Okeechobee, Osceola, Pasco, Pinellas, Polk, Sarasota, Seminole, St. Lucie, Sumter, Volusia. I think some of them actually were closed yesterday too, but as of now, all of those counties have schools closed. There are 36 county-run shelters that are open and operating in counties that are in the path of the storm. Most of these big counties are going to have multiple locations where you can go to shelter. All counties have at least one pet-friendly shelter and at least one special needs shelters. We have not seen a major, even though we've seen a lot of evacuations, we have not seen a lot of folks going into the shelter yet. I think the total population is, a few thousand, Kevin, as of right now. So, and honestly, that's not unexpected, because if you're going to go to a shelter, why would you go 2 days before the storm? So I think people will likely be gravitating more to the shelters today and maybe even through tomorrow morning. So we do anticipate that those numbers will climb. In anticipation of that, we also have additional state-supported shelters that we are going to operate in partnership with the private sector to support and augment what those local counties are already doing in terms of their shelters. So if we do get to a point where Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, prime shelters are full, you're going to have other options to be able to go to, and those are not simply limited to those counties. You will have shelters in other counties that are a little bit further away from the storm surge. And finally, the state has identified 14 potential sites for state-operated shelters, and we are going to announce 4 of those sites. These are big, like Category 5 proof warehouse type things that can have thousands of people. I mean, they can do, how many thousands you think on some of those?
One of our sites, we estimate about 10,000.
Yeah, so I mean, we have one of the sites can do 10,000. Others will do multiple thousands. But these are designed to be a shelter of last resort. And so they are going to be adjacent to some of the evacuation routes. We're going to have some in Polk County, close to I-4, and then we're going to have some in Hillsborough and Pasco County, not too far from I-75 north. And so those will be announced. We're going to start with 4. If there is a demand to do more, we will do more, but it could be a situation where if you're trying, tonight, you're on the road, traffic's bad, you say, hey, there's a shelter here in Lakeland I can go to and be able to ride out the storm and then go back. That is an absolutely safe option to do, and we encourage, if that is necessary, for folks to be able to do it. Now, you can find your county's emergency management page, which will have this type of information and others at for sheltering, floridadisaster.org/shelters to have the list of shelter locations, and then for general, including sheltering, as well as other orders, floridadisaster.org/counties. So please keep an eye on alerts and advice from your local officials as the storm approaches. This has been a very difficult time for a lot of people in the state of Florida. To have a major hurricane come, not even 2 weeks ago, that we got hit with Hurricane Helene, is a very difficult thing to go through. We did have people lose homes. We had people lose very valued possessions. And unfortunately, we did experience loss of life. And so you never want to have to go through that again, but you certainly don't want to have to go through it on the heels of less than 2 weeks after getting hit by a Category 4 to potentially have another major hurricane that's going to impact some of the very same areas that saw significant storm surge. But here we are. I can tell you the folks back here at the state EOC, I mean, this has been going on now for a little bit more than 2 weeks in terms of our first state of emergency with Helene, working on the prep, working on the response, and now we're responding to Helene and preparing for Milton and going to have a really robust response for Milton. People have been working around the clock in the local communities. Our first responders, our law enforcement, they're staged, they're ready to go. Our National Guard, our State Guard, all these people, and some of the search and rescue who helped immediately after Helene, and then when that mission was no longer necessary, they went to do missions in North Carolina. Now they're back ready for a third round of potential search and rescue. So there's a lot of folks that have been working very hard, and I know our citizens go through. It's very frustrating to have your life interrupted and to potentially have your possessions in your home on the line. We can't control how strong or weak this storm will be when it hits the state of Florida. We can't control the path of the storm. The only thing that we can control is the decisions that are made on an individual level to be able to protect yourself or your family. We hope to have as minimal damage as possible, but looking at how big this storm is, there's going to be significant damage in different parts of Florida. And it's not just going to be with the surge. That will be probably the worst, but this storm is going to go through the peninsula as a hurricane. And you're going to have hurricane force winds on the east coast of Florida. So make the decisions now and execute your plan to be able to protect yourself and your family. No matter what property damage is done, we can rebuild homes, we can rebuild businesses, we can get people back on their feet, but only if they're safe and they survive the storm. We're not going to be able to bring people back who stay behind in 10 or 15 feet of storm surge. So you have time today. Time is running out, but you do have time today to make the decision to heed any evacuation orders and to do what you need to do to protect yourself and your family. So please take heed and do